Welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here for lesson 134. Day 154. Excerpts from The Sovereign Light, A Course in Metaphysical Spirituality. 425, 6, and 7 out of 852. And welcome. My name is Reverend Maria Arvanitidis to the audio-visual version of my book. And again, here we are in the beautiful mural artistic part of Chinatown, they call it. East side, the newer one, I guess, from previous Dundas, the west one. This is the east side. And somebody has a black hummingbird on this beautiful mural. And I thought I would share it with you all here. All the beauty. And perhaps something, that has the old world crumbling, right? And this must be a transmutation kind of mural. And then transfiguration from the transcending each level and then transfiguring back into form, if you will. As we learn step by step the way of the alchemist in shifting through perspectives is this thing that we must clear and heal so that we can create miracles and allow them to unfold as we engage in our awareness as creator God beings. With that said, breathe that in for a moment and just take a few deep breaths in and out. And all roads lead back to the inner being, where all doors open to this light, as we mentioned, and have sampled the meditation from previous. They lead back. And so in this doing, we are being and being in the doing. And so the state of depression and the manic behavior between the self and its experiences is more or less the descension and ascension process, peaks and valleys of the flow from energy exchange. Opposing perceptions and of reality can only shift from one to the other. Both worlds do not last for long simultaneously to be seen, and one must give over for the other. And you can opt to have your eyes closed as we begin today's activation, affirmation, if you will, the chorus to these many verses of the song, this lesson for the day. Whenever you're ready. And let's begin. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. I dwell in the contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. There are so many different worlds because of the so many different perceptions. At any given moment, the realities and in the same space as the beingness of the self is profound. However, it can only see what its mind will allow. The very same things that can be overlooked and right in plain sight also can be noticed when the mind is able to take it in. The stimuli can become overwhelming to comprehend all at once and can blind from too much light. Rethinking is this capacity of processing information in the mind fully and integrating it to see something different than what was there before. The slightest shift can create miracles to appear. With every decision made, the values are determined in this way and in how, or what can actually be perceived for its reality. The illusion is in the belief that reality is constantly and always to be as it is seen in this and that moment, forever unchanging. The changes are too slight to notice and yet so great when the changes happen from within. Too much contemplation into the explanation and the cause and the because or any phenomenon can become, and too soon, a paradoxical paradigm. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. Without any overlaps, the brain might not comprehend too much emphasis on distinction to properly process such a vast range of expanded awarenesses into its circuitry, and all at once will cause it to dismiss for any of these things entirely. Although the illusions between like and love or fear with hate appear to suggest and that there are no compromises to be made between love and hate. Instead of focusing on the unwanted, why not replace the value over to what it is of choice, desire to perceive it? It will come to be so in this way. This is where you can be a fly or a bee, enjoying the beauty of each flower, or a fly that makes shit about everything and sees everything through the eyes of a fly or through the eyes of a bee. We have prerogative. We can choose what reality, from what perspective, whether it be a hummingbird or a bee. With these activations, include a few moments of intermissions to meditate on going beyond compromise and its meaningless contrasts. And so the supported statements that can be modified and added to help, like a prayer-like momentum, mode, noted, if you will. To impress upon the projector of how we view our world throughout this day and where we come to engage and disengage and interact with others. Ready to commence. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. My emotions emulate from my source to my perception, and I live in the opposite world. My emotions emulate from my source to my perception, and I live in the opposite world. Take that in for a moment. It's like a mirror. What is it that we need to learn in this contrast of what it is that we prefer, and how we learn what it is that we prefer? Is it not through contrast? So it's through these mirrors that emulate from our emotions that we dwell in a contrasted world until we have completed to shift over these perceptions into another. And when everything is that we have completed, we can create another matrix and yet another matrix that we can work through and learn and evolve. And again, this is up to us and our choice to discern. Once we've learned everything, we can still stay in that world, or we can create something else that doesn't have to be of contrast. But for today's lesson, this is what we're learning. The contraction and expansion of all things, including dead wood. And so, with eyes open, there's no doubt to be left over with what is looked upon as truth, and with tangible expression from the grateful state of existence. The choices put forth in this day become as limiting factors, and for any other temptation to dismiss with ease. And breathe with ease. Are you breathing from your heart? Realize that consistency is the application of choice when met with opposition to accept the perception, and just slightly it will change greatly the reality toward what is more preferable. What is preferred is within range, and when the resistance to what is not preferred is released, the self, so too will the other stop resisting to show itself. So, taking this concept of this idea for the day, and for the following supportive statements that will help perceive through this perspective, affirmation, activation, if you will. The contrast seeks me out, where before I could only seek it. And now my freedom lies in the delivering. That part of it I do want. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. My emotions emulate from my source to my perception, and I live in the opposite world. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. The contrast seeks me out, where before I could only seek it, and now my freedom lies in the delivering that part of it I do want. And the purpose for today: accept contrast, accept the mirror effect. The opposite that might be attracting into your awareness as real. And find the place and where compromise for the self does not exist. So it's a paradox. You accept one and you accept, and so they do cancel out. Once we're able to cancel those illusions of the opposites, we close the gap. And then it falls and crumbles to the ground. And then we can create what it is that we do prefer. While the echoes still remain as remnants. And see, are there any more triggers held in place? Otherwise, like attracts like. We're in a new world where like attracts like. The older version of the older world before that we are now going through the shedding process is of opposites attract. And so why not today's lesson? Let it be the awareness and the working through these many aspects. And we're entering into another intermission where we're going to take a day. So I congratulate you for making it through the lesson 134 from the 46-week and 6-day course of 365-day program consisting of 319 lessons and 48 days of review that break up the lessons from every 6 days for a day and every other week of 13 days for 2. Take this day to recalibrate and make notes and review. So I will leave you with today's chorus, if you will, to the song. Lesson for today to activate throughout a certain kind of perspective. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. I dwell in a contrasted world until I have completed to shift over my perception into another. From Eastside Chinatown, thank you so very much for joining me here and sharing in your presence. So very much appreciated, and you are very much valued.